We're Jeff and Erin Brisson. We met back in 2005, working together. It was a good time. We were young, and we started flirting quite early together. Do you remember, like, we weren't even dating, and I was already whispering things like olive juice to her, which makes it look like I love you, right? And like, I just knew at that point, right? And this is...
Yeah, we knew pretty early on that it was something special, I think, so. From
2005, we started dating 2005 and then we got married at the Bridge.
In 2009.
In 2009, Pastor Allen was the one that married us. It was so special because I grew up in a Christian home, so like, church has always been a big part of my family, and of course myself, my faith, and I started attending the Bridge when Pastor Allen Summers actually started preaching there. So we kind of started together, and I just absolutely loved his way of speaking, and he really touched me, So I could tell it was going to be just that great relationship. And
I was actually there before that. So I grew up not in a Christian home, but my mom was the daughter of a pastor. So we went to church, so I knew, what church was. But it wasn't until I was in junior high, so grade 7 or 8, that I found the Bridge, and it was Canada Wesleyan Church back then. And it was Pastor Scott Elliott, I believe.
Steve Elliott.
Steve Elliott. It was Pastor Steve Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a part of the youth group there. It was the best time of my life, really. That's when I gave my life to God. And it was just a very impactful place for me at that age. And then just high school hit, and friends, and they didn't go to church, and so you kind of fall out. I went away to university, and then so I'm coming back after my second year of university. I had been at where we met, the workplace that we met. I had been there previously 2 summers, so it was my 3rd summer back. And then that's when he started. So he wasn't there the previous 2 summers, but he was there the 3rd. And I remember when I first saw him, I was like, hi. How you doing? I had always thought, or coming back home in those summers, to go back to the church, but I was fearful. I was fearful of, if people would recognize me, if people that were there before were still there. So I kind of let that fear overtake me. And then when we started talking and getting closer, and he told me he went there, it was almost to me kind of like a calling back, just because that, like I said, was just such an impactful place. So when he told me that he went there, I said, I would like to go back. Take me back with you. So
we consider that place home now, right? We have all of our friends go to the church, and they have kids now, and they're the same age as our kids. So it's just so nice to have that family that surrounds you, supports you, and just understands, right?
Yeah. And Pastor Allen, like he said, has been there with us through so much, right? So he married us, and then when we started a family in 2012, he dedicated all our children. So he's just been such a blessing in our lives, and we're just so grateful for the Bridge.
So like Erin mentioned, in 2012 is when we decided to expand our family, and we had Madison. So Madison was born in April 2012, so she's going to be turning 8 already, and then Tenley came along 2 years later, and Tenley's our little firecracker, and she's
just like you.
Yeah, she's bossy. She knows what she wants. That's how the positive spin. She knows what she wants.
Yeah.
She brings so much joy to our family.
So I surprised him on Christmas morning, 2016, and told him that we were having another one. So he had no idea, and we were really excited. We were really, really excited to expand our family and have a third. So we were just really excited. We were just my belly started growing and the girls were excited, and we found out that it was a girl and we were ecstatic. Then both of them were pretty excited too. I think Madison had said she wanted a brother, but I think it took a little bit of time, but she was happy that she was having a little sister, another little sister.
Daddy was kind of praying for a boy. I definitely was crossing my fingers there for a little hockey player.
So we made it through the whole pregnancy, and everything was very normal. And then 2 days after my due date, so I was due September 1st, 2017. 2 days after my due date, we were sitting in church where we always sit, where we still sit to this day. And I just realized, I just felt, that's weird, I just haven't felt her move like she normally does. She's the most active out of all three of them, and it made me nervous because I was like, I have two already to run after. I hope she's not like this on the outside, because it was just, I remember Jeff, come on, you have to, like, she's going crazy in there. So I just felt this feeling, and I turned to Jeff and I said, let's just go and make sure everything's okay. She's probably just preparing to come out, and maybe that's a good sign. Maybe it's coming soon, because we're just so excited for her. And so I said, we'll just run over to the hospital, get checked, and we'll be back in time for lunch. So that's what we did. Pastor Allen, we were coming off of a summer series, a video series. And Pastor Allen stood up and said, I really have it on my heart to share this, another video message, which I wouldn't normally do coming off a video summer series. And so we watched it, and the gist of it, do you remember the name of it?
I Am Possible by Jeremy Coart.
Yeah.
Great video message all about
Philippians 4:13, which is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And we had both obviously we've heard that verse before, but I don't think we had really understood how much more that verse would mean later on that day. It was a powerful message, and we left, and then we said, we're going to drop the girls at my parents' house, we're going to go to the hospital, get checked, and then we'll be back in time for lunch. So that's what we did. So we went. It was raining. It was raining on the Sunday. I remember that clearly. I remember walking into the hospital. Everything is just so clear and vivid. As we were walking through the maternity ward to get to the check-in desk, we had looked at each other and said, it just still doesn't feel like we're going to be here in a couple days, and meeting our little girl. And so we walk up to the desk, and I just had told them, I'm 40 weeks and I'm 2 days, so I'm anxious, but I know that she's not moving like she normally does, so I just want to make sure everything's okay. So in that instance, whenever I've gone to the not emergency room, but the birthing unit before to get checked throughout the pregnancy or whatever, they usually will take you to triage. They didn't take me to triage. They took me right into a birthing room where you would not typically give birth. And we didn't have to wait very long, which was nice. So there was a nurse with us, and she got me kind of all set up. She turned on her machine, ultrasound machine, and we couldn't hear anything. And so I think immediately your mind just starts racing. That's weird. Like, why wouldn't you be able to hear anything? I'm full term, and she's been so active this whole time. And you try and really kind of hope for the best, because your mind races to the worst possible in that situation. So she said, let's try a different position. So she got me onto a different position. Still couldn't hear anything. I think at that point, deep down as a mom, I knew that something was not right. I remember looking at Jeff and saying, how are you not freaking out right now? And he's like, let's just keep praying. We don't know anything yet. So the nurse had said that she had to bring in a doctor, and the doctor had to perform a video ultrasound so that we could see what was going on. So in what felt like 24 hours, because it felt like a really long time that the doctor came in, she had finally come in, and then it took forever to turn the machine on. She even said that this is not normal, that it's taking this long to turn on the machine. And I was like, obviously, like, great.
Just adding
to that, right? It's already feeling like this weight, and just trying to stay calm, I think, in that moment. But I think, like I said, I kind of knew deep down that, something was really not right. And then the machine finally got to work. And I think because I had known, I didn't look at the screen. I just looked at him, and then I saw his face. And then I knew she was gone. So she didn't have a heartbeat. Yeah.
That was by far our lowest point ever, right? So many things race through your mind, and like, as a naive, I guess, dad and man, that I just ask, like, how can this happen? Like, my wife is past her due date. How can our baby be dead?
So you're in that moment, and good thing we were in a room, because I know I was screaming and crying, and just your reaction to getting that kind of news, right? You're in absolute shock. You walk in thinking that not even close to that is what is happening. And then to be in that moment, to actually literally have your life turned upside down in an instant. Never thought that would be something I would ever experience, that we would ever experience. And then where do you go? Where do you go from there? So we took the time we needed to, I guess, be in shock and have all of those reactions. And then the doctor had said we need to go to have a formal sonogram done to have the formal diagnosis that she's passed. So I remember that we had a different nurse that had come in to wheel us there, to take us there. And the first thing she did was pray with us. And that was...
She saw us praying.
Yeah.
When the doctors gave us the news, and like, we were just in such shock. Like, what else can you do but pray, right? Like, you want answers immediately. You're wanting to know, like, why, and you just have so many questions, right, that you want answered immediately. So we just went right to prayer, and we knew that right away. We knew that service, like, we brought back the I can do all things through Christ, right? Yeah. And we're like, just Jesus, just
whole new meaning.
Come back, come here,
yeah.
and be with us today during what we're about to experience, right? Because it's not over. She still has to deliver Sarah, right? And so the nurse saw us praying, and we believe God put her there, right? She prayed over us.
Yeah.
It's really special.
I think in terms of being in that, him and I, in that situation, we also realized, Madison and Tenley have seen my belly grow for 9 months. They are expecting a little sister. They're 5 and 3 at the time. So how do we tell them that this little girl is not coming home? She's still their sister, but she's not going to be with them. I think that's something that, looking back on it now, when I felt the feelings of wanting her to just come out, and wanting to have that process, sped up and be fast. I think looking back on it, the fact that I wasn't able to go back to the hospital until that night, And I'm actually really thankful for that time, because we were able to leave the hospital, go and tell the girls while Sarah was still here. And that was something that was, I think, is really needed for them, because they saw my belly grow this whole time. So they knew that Sarah was going to be here any day now, because we had been talking about it, and the anticipation of her arrival. And so that was, for us to go there, for them to be able to touch my belly, for us to say, your little sister is with Jesus now. She's in heaven. We don't know why. She loves you, but she's not going to be with us like we thought she was going to be. She's going to be with us in a different way now. And then we had dinner. We got the call that there was a spot for me to go back to the hospital to be induced. So we probably got to the hospital around 8:30. We had to go back to our house to get my hospital bag, because I didn't have it, because we had not expected to have to go to the hospital. And to remove the baby things from the bag was hard. But we did it, and we went back, and I got my first induction around 11:30. Tried to get some rest, because we had no idea what to expect. We had no idea how long it was going to be. We had no idea what would happen next, really. So we tried to settle in. You tried to get some sleep. We both tried to get some sleep. I remember clearly he had finally fallen asleep, and it was probably about 3:30, and I'm just in the bed and I'm Googling stages of grief. Like, I have no idea. I've never been in this position. I have no idea what to expect and how I'm going to feel. And around 4:30 in the morning, things started. I kind of started that whole time. That verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, is just on repeat in my head. And I felt the strength in that time. So it was around 8 in the morning, and I was comfortable. I finally got comfortable. I finally got an epidural. We started. The doctor had come in, and I think I pushed twice, and she was here.
Thankfully, it happened very quick.
It happened fast, yeah. On that final push, though, knowing that, the doctor's saying she's almost here, to know that the room would be silent. I think I just had broken down in that moment, and we were just hugging. And then I remember that she was here, and that they took her right away to the warming table. And I remember just looking over and seeing her little legs. She's just 9 pounds, 11 ounces of pure perfection. But I was still scared. I didn't know what to expect in that moment. I didn't know if I could hold her. I didn't know what we do now, because she's here, but she's not.
This is supposed to be one of the best days, right, of your life, when you're two parents, and we've gone through it before, and any parents out there that have gone through it, that it's just those cries that you hear. It's just music to your ears.
That's all you want to hear.
That's all you want to hear. And knowing that you're not going to hear that, and it's dead silence. There's nobody's talking, right? It's
crushing.
It takes everything out of you.
So I guess the nurse had given her to Jeff, and as soon as I saw her, I couldn't hold her fast enough. I saw her little button nose, and I was like, you give her to me now. I need to just hold on to her, because we knew that we had limited time. We knew that we had to cram a lifetime of love and kisses and hugs and singing and anything into that short amount of time that we knew we were going to have with her.
It turns in to be one of the worst days of your lives, to in a weird way, one of the best, because that's the 6 hours that we got to spend with her. That's all I get until I see her again in heaven, right? So it's hard to explain and hard to grasp onto how something could be so tragic and be the worst day of your life to one of the best, because that's the only time that we have with Sarah till we see her again. Although we told Madison and Tenley of what happened to Sarah and how Sarah's up in heaven, we thought it'd be best that it was just us, okay, just Erin and I in the room, and we did invite family. That was both our decision, and it's still something to this day that we're glad that we
don't regret that decision at all.
Those 6 hours.
Yeah, because he had her, I had her, he had her. I was like, okay, it's my turn.
But one of the things that we wanted to do right away was have Pastor Allen dedicate her, right, and just pray over her, and that's something that we called, and it's Pastor Allen's birthday. It was, I believe, September 4th is his birthday.
Yeah.
Right.
So we found out on September 3rd, and he was one of the first people that we thought of to come and just to pray over us.
And dedicate her.
And he was more than willing to do that, because he's just such a great guy. So we're very, very thankful for that. So that he came on his birthday, on her birthday. What a coincidence that they share a birthday. They're both very special people. So he did that for us, and we were really grateful. So we had decided, we have to both be at the same place to say our final goodbyes. And I think we got there. We got there after some time. I told him, though, that I wouldn't be able to physically give her to the nurse. So I asked if he'd be able to do that, and he said he could, and I was just really grateful for that. So I kind of said my final goodbyes and handed her to him, and you said yours. And I thought finding out that she was gone was the hardest. It doesn't even compare to watching the nurse walk out of the room with her, knowing that we'd never see her again. All day she was in a blanket and this little hat that one of the nurses found for us. I think that it had gotten there that day, and it was just perfect. It was just was her. So we actually removed those so that we could keep them. We put her in another blanket and another hat when we gave her to the nurse. And then she was gone. So now what? I didn't want to stay at the hospital. I wanted to be gone as quickly as possible, so we were able to really leave pretty much shortly after that. I think it was just a couple hours, and we were gone. So I remember leaving. I just closed my eyes, and I'm still back in that moment. Like, it was raining. I was so hungry. So we knew that we wanted to kind of go home, and Madison and Tenley were still with my parents. So we were going to have, that night to just sleep in our bed and be together and grieve and cry. And
I just couldn't get out of the hospital fast enough. I just wanted to be home. I wanted to be in a place where I just felt safe. But I also knew that I had to be there for Erin. She had to be there for me. And that we had to grieve Sarah. And you're still asking all those questions of, why did this happen to me? What happened? Medically, you play previous events over in your head. Could I have done anything different? Was it me? Did I fail as a dad? Did my part in this, right? Did I let my wife down? But one thing was for sure is that we just nonstop prayed. It was and our prayer was it was simple. We don't know what happened. Why did this happen? But just, she's in your arms now. Like, just keep her safe. I think people could easily turn away from God, from something like that kind of event, that tragic event. Whereas we just got closer to him. And it's because we knew that she was in Jesus' arms.
We don't have to ever worry about her because we know that she's completely safe and she's wrapped in his arms, and that when, that we'll see her again.
There's comfort in knowing that your child is safe and not...
You never have to worry about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely gripped onto that.
When we had received that pamphlet, the resource sheet in the hospital, we had looked and we had a couple in mind, but one stood out to us, obviously, and that was a big reason for that was because
Pastor Scott worked there previously.
Yeah.
So we knew we had a lot of hurt and death in our family previous. So we spent a lot of time in funeral homes, and there's just doesn't get easier. And we have this great friend in Scott who had done that. Pastor Scott was able to facilitate
that whole meeting,
the details, right, of what we wanted for Sarah, and make an easy introduction. So we didn't have to be there any longer than we really had to. And that's something that stood out. That's God placing Scott into our lives. And for the amount of time that he was there working at that funeral home, we believe was for us. So that he would be able to take care of Sarah for us.
It was very clear to us from early on that we knew, the cards are going to stop, the flowers are going to stop, the meals are going to stop, and that we needed professional support. I think we knew that we needed to surround ourselves with the people that, have experience in this type of loss. And this same pamphlet that we got the funeral home information from, Roger Neilson House stood out to us right away. So we had both heard of Roger Neilson House before. Our really good friends are ambassadors for Roger Neilson House. And I think that having that stand out to us, and I remember saying to you, hey, did you know that Roger Neilson House provided this type of service, this type of perinatal loss bereavement services? We both had no idea. And then so the Tuesday, the first day that we were home, our good friends that are ambassadors left a meal for us, and a direct referral to a social worker at Roger Neilson House. And that was just our okay, this is meant to be. We have to contact them and meet with them and see where this will take us. And we're so glad we did. We were able to get in there that Friday. So they offered services for Jeff and I together, one-on-one, and then we started in this a bereavement group. So it was 5 other couples that had been in a situation where they've lost a child. And that's just been, I think, instrumental in our healing journeys. I think together and separately, I think that the Roger Neilson House now holds a really special place in our hearts. And we're just really grateful for the services that they provided and for the people that we've met, especially the group that we were in. Those women are now my warrior sisters. They are the strongest women I know. And there's something about being in a group of people that have been through a similar experience. It's just, you never want anyone to go through the loss of a child, but to know that other people have, there's a little bit of comfort in that, in a way. We love talking about her. She's a part of our family. The girls talk about her. We talk about her all the time. She's with us everywhere we go. In fact, we had planted a tree at the church in her honor in 2018, and it was in the fall. It was actually on my birthday. It was October 1st, and it was really special that we were able to do that. And through the winter, when the springtime came, the tree didn't flourish like we thought it would. And we had put it kind of at the back of the church.
On the highway side.
Yeah, because we just thought, we want to be able to see it from the highway and when we're in, and from the kids' wing, and but it didn't flourish, and so we could have just replanted another tree there, but we didn't. We moved the tree, and now it's as you walk into the kids' wing, she's right there along the S path. Her tree is there, and it's for all to see. And I think I think that's symbolic of what we're feeling. That
we now want to share her. We want to share her with our friends, our community, our church.
Yeah.
Because these are the people that have touched us, that have helped us through this. So we felt like it was time. And it's also something that's great to see that Madison and Tenley, and they'll be able to see this tree.
Yeah. Every time we walk through, it's Sarah's tree.
Yeah. It's much more than just a tree to us.
You read about all of the stories of loss and of parents losing children, and of actually any loss, really. You never think it's going to be you. And then one day it is. So navigating through, everyone's life goes on, and ours just kind of carries on in a new way. It's a new normal after experiencing the loss of our daughter. So I think that we throughout our journey, we're really grateful for our faith. I think that for us, for me, it was something that I leaned on in my darkest time, and I think to have that strength that was not my own, holding me in my darkest moments, was really how I got through.
But as far as where was God, we know where he was. He showed up in that nurse that day who prayed for us. God showed up in Pastor Allen, dedicating Sarah to the Lord. He showed up in Pastor Scott, who did so much for Sarah. God showed up in our really good friends who are ambassadors to Roger Nielsen House. God showed up and in my best friend, who paid for the entire funeral so we wouldn't have to have that financial burden. God showed up in the men and the women of the church who prepared so many meals for us and prayed for us, for our family. We know God showed up. We know that he was there for us.
I remember it was the Sunday after the service, and we took the girls to the park. We wanted to have a picnic, and we wanted to just see if we could kind of get back to some kind of normalcy. And I just remember taking the wagon, having the girls in. We had a picnic at the park, and walking home, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, not one. It was just complete blue sky. and the girls were in front of us, and I remember just grabbing her hand and just being like, she's with us. Like, she's here. She's always going to be with us no matter where we go. And that was just a reflection of
reassurance.
Yeah.
That she's okay.